Okay.
So this means your mic is hot.
Okay. Right.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Just want to make sure that everyone can hear me. So nice to see everyone this afternoon. See in the room, familiar faces. So hello to you and all of our staff, everyone that is joining us virtually as well. Welcome to our July 25th board meeting. I'm happy to be with you tonight. This is Board Chair Ronald McFadden, and I would like to welcome you all to the July 25th public meeting of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners. If you have not done so already, please mute your phone. Anyone who does not mute their phone on the call on Microsoft Teams may be muted by the moderator or removed from Teams. Additionally, if you are not a board member or the CEO and their staff, please turn your video off. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who is present. Please, I will now go through that roll call. Vice Chair Roberts.
Present.
Commissioner Brooks. Commissioner Coy.
Present.
Commissioner Eblagi.
Present.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Present.
Commissioner Muhammad.
Present.
Commissioner Reed. Commissioner Sally,
Present.
Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Present.
Thank you. I am also present, clearly. That is 10 present with 2 absent. Is there a motion? 10 present with 1 absent. Please forgive me. Is there a motion to reopen the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Is there a second?
Second, Roberts.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. All in favor? Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Eblagi?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Mohammed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington?
Yes.
Also in favor. That is 9 in favor with 2 absent. That motion passes. Is there a motion to approve the prior open session minutes?
So move, Roberts.
Thank you, Vice Chair Roberts. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. All in favor? Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Eblagi?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington?
Yes.
I am in favor. That is 9 in favor with 2 absent. That motion passes. Yes. For the first motion, just so that the record reflects accurately who was present, there should be 9 present with 2 absent. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the closed session summaries?
So move, Roberts.
Thank you, Vice Chair Roberts. Is there a second?
Second, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. All in favor? Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed? Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington?
Yes.
And I'm in favor. That is 8 in favor with 2 absent. That motion passes. Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. So welcome, everyone, to the 25th meeting. It is our first meeting. It's our second meeting of the fiscal year, but this is our first public meeting. Our first meeting of July was a special meeting where we approved several new staff members to city schools, maybe different roles or just new to our system. But today is our first public meeting of the year. So good afternoon and welcome. There are some amazing things happening in city schools that we like to highlight tonight. First, we'd like to take a moment, the board would like to take a moment and congratulate our city school CEO, Dr. Sonia Santelises, on becoming Secretary Treasurer of the Council of Great City Schools Board of Directors. Congratulations, Dr. Santelises. The Council of Great City Schools is a coalition of individuals who work to help our students meet the highest educational standards and become successful and productive members of society. The Council's membership is comprised of 78 urban school districts and helps to build capacity in programs to boost academic performance and narrow achievement gaps, improve professional development, and strengthen leadership, governance, and management. CGCS also keeps the nation's lawmakers, media outlets, and general public informed about the progress and problems in big city schools. Also want to take a moment to recognize Commissioner Slater Harrington, who will represent Baltimore City School Board on the Board of Directors for CGCS. So thank you for your commitment to serve. board is also very proud of Dr. Santelises and Commissioner Seda Harrington, all of us here tonight, to witness the efforts of both of these two women who will represent Baltimore City at that level. We also would like to congratulate Commissioner Esposito and Dr. Tracy Durant as they were selected to represent the Baltimore squad in the Ashe Leaders Fellowship. Congratulations to you all. The Ashe Leaders Fellowship focuses on increasing student success and improving community prosperity. The fellowship will identify strong voices, deeply develop each fellow's leadership capacity, and amplify nationally the experiences of leaders as they transform systems in their communities and beyond. So thank you for committing to serve. We look forward to the work that you all will do, and we look forward to hearing more about your efforts on the cohort. Next, I want to highlight the amazing City Schools summer events the district is hosting. The City Schools on the Bus Tour is hosting pop-up events all around our city. These events are a convenient way for families to learn more about city schools and receive free books, fresh fruits, and vegetables. The next event is Wednesday, tomorrow, July 27th from 5:00 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Calvin Rodwell Elementary Middle School in Liberty Heights. For more information on this event and upcoming events, please visit the school's website, the City Schools. So I would like to introduce the two newest board members, commissioners, Interim Student Commissioner Ethan Eblagi and Commissioner, pronounce your first name for us, please.
Mujahid.
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 Mujahid. So I don't ever want to get it incorrect, so it will be Commissioner Muhammad. Okay, because names are important, but I want to make sure that that is correct. So Commissioner Eblagi and Commissioner Muhammad. Commissioner Eblagi is a senior at the Baltimore Polytechnic Institute and an advocate for students' rights, the end to the school to prison pipeline, and is the son of Asian immigrants. Approaching the role of student commissioner as a proud Baltimore public school student first and foremost, Ethan's goal is centering the voices of students with direct and lived experience in the policy making. He has served on the Associated Student Congress of Baltimore City, the executive board for 2 years, first as treasurer and then as president. Ethan is the co-founder of the Baltimore Student Union and a member of the Votes Coalition, Voices Toward an Elected School Board, and Police Free Schools Coalitions. Commissioner Muhammad is the founder of Keys Enterprises, a mental health and mentoring agency that brings together caring mentors, counselors, therapists, and social workers to provide therapeutic services for youth housed in group homes within Baltimore City. He is the oldest of 10, my favorite number, by the way, if anyone was interested, helping him naturally become an expert at protecting and empowering others at an early age. Growing up alongside so many personalities sparked his interest in human behavior, which led him to study psychology at the Morgan State University. He is committed to connecting communities with the right services so that they can make data and person-driven decisions. Welcome to the both of you formally in this setting. Welcome. I want to remind our students and families that the annual student verification process begins in August. We are encouraging everyone to complete the annual student verification to help the district know up-to-date information regarding our students. This information helps the district know exactly who to expect on the first day of school and what they need to have in order to make this the best school year possible. For more information on the annual student verification process, please visit the Baltimore City Public Schools website at baltimorecityschools.org. And as this is the first public board meeting of this year, this fiscal year, colleagues, our children deserve our best, and we must work together to ensure their success. We are not showing up at each convening to ask this question: how are our children? then we are not doing the work that they critically depend on us for. Every discussion must ultimately point to our children. We deliberately focus our work. Together, we will see improved outcomes for our children. Each of our children have the potential to learn and to achieve at high levels. Let's study to show ourselves approved. Let's use our skills, let's use our expertise to collaboratively address our children's needs in order to accomplish the bold goals that we have set out to do. Together, we are strong. Together, we can win the fight against the adversaries of our children. Together, Baltimore can be the place where all of our children thrive. Colleagues, our children are depending on us. We must show up for them in a mighty way. They do not have time to waste. As you all know, the school board has expanded from 10 members to 12 members. As a part of this expansion, colleagues, we need to update one of our board policies that relates to board committees. Currently, policy BDD allows for no more than 4 members to serve on a committee. This policy was in effect prior to the expansion of our school board. Board work, and with our committee work specifically, we need to expand the number of commissioners that can serve on a committee from 4 to 5. Just want to take a moment to see if there are any questions. We're going to ensure that this moves to our committee this coming month in August, and then the board will vote on this in our meeting next month. But it's important that we expand that number so that our commissioners have the space to serve in committees. It was an old policy prior to the expansion, so that's an administrative item in policy that we need to address right away so that the work of our committees can move forward, hopefully next month. Are there any questions about that?
And Mr. Chair, I just wanted to add that we wanted to make the announcement tonight so the public, if they would like to make any comment, that they can bring that to the attention of the board or the board office prior to the vote.
Thank you. So any members of the public, please reach out to school board at should there be any questions, but we need to get the work of our committees moving, and we need to make that administrative adjustment. The board acknowledges a donation of $12,500 from Teach for America to Hartford Heights Elementary School for books. Thank you, you all. Thank you for that. For books, media equipment, and educational supplies. Is there a motion to approve the PEP with the exception of item 3.02?
So moved, Roberts.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Bay. All in favor? Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay? Yes. Commissioner Muhammad?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington?
Yes.
And I am in favor. Absent, that motion passes. Is there a motion to pass item 3.02?
So moved, Roberts.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second?
Second, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. All in favor? Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
No.
Commissioner Muhammad?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington?
Yes.
I am in favor. That is 7 in favor with 1 opposed and 2 absent. That motion passes. We will now have our Vice Chair, Roberts, to read the list of retirees.
Good evening, everyone. We have quite an extensive list of retirees for tonight. Did I go out? If any of the participants are here tonight in person, please stand when I read your name. If you are Online, you can cut your camera on when you hear your name. Okay, let's get started. Arlene Bacon, are you with us? Arlene Bacon started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on December 1st, 1980. She most recently served as a 6-hour food service worker 1 at Matthew A. Henson Elementary. Ms. Bacon served Baltimore City Public Schools for 42 years and 7 months. Thank you, Ms. Bacon. Erin Bendel started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on August 26, 1987. She most recently served as a speech pathologist at Vanguard Middle School. Ms. Bendel served Baltimore City Public Schools for 35 years and 10 months. Rosalind Carter started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools September 28, 1978. She most recently served as an assistant principal at Vanguard Middle School. Ms. Carter served Baltimore City Public Schools for 44 years and 9 months. Gwendolyn Castor Green started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on December 4th, 1989. She most recently served as a secretary at Digital Harbor High School. Ms. Castor Green served Baltimore City Public Schools for 33 years and 6 months. Gwendolyn Childers started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on May 23rd, 1988. She most recently served as a school. I want yours. Let's start that again. She most recently served as a 12-month school bus aide for special transportation. Ms. Childers served Baltimore City Public Schools for 35 years and 1 month. Yvette Coleman started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on December 4th, 1986. She most recently served as a special education secretary at the Reach Partnership School. Ms. Coleman served Baltimore City Public Schools for 35 years and 6 months. Darlene DeGraffin, I did not say that right.
Graffinreed.
DeGraffenreid. If I said your name incorrectly, my apologies. Started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on January 14th, 1980. She most recently served as an IEP team associate at Arlington Elementary Middle School. Ms. DeGraffenreid. Served Baltimore City Public Schools for 43 years and 5 months. Nancy Doran started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on October 3rd, 1977. She most recently served as an occupational therapist at William Bear School. Ms. Doran served Baltimore City Public Schools for 45 years and 8 months. Gussie Goodman started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on September 6, 1978. She most recently served as an elementary teacher at Stewart Hill Academic Academy. Ms. Goodman served Baltimore City Public Schools for 44 years. Barbara Hunter started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on January 21st, 1974. She most recently served as a pre-K paraeducator at Abbottson Elementary. Ms. Hunter served Baltimore City Public Schools for 49 years and 5 months. Joyce Jackson started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on August 28, 1985. She most recently served as an educational specialist too for gifted and advanced learning. Ms. Jackson served Baltimore City Public Schools for 37 years and 10 months. Terry Lee started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on March 21st, 1988. She most recently served as a special education paraeducator at Dickey Hill Elementary Middle. Ms. Lee served Baltimore City Public Schools for 35 years and 3 months. Phyllis Lloyd started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on January 11th, 1978. She most recently served as an assistant principal at Sinclair Lane Elementary. Ms. Lloyd served Baltimore City Public Schools for 45 years and 5 months. Kathleen Lutz started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on March 27, 1985. She most recently served as a psychologist at Kelvin M. Rodwell Elementary School. Ms. Lutz served Baltimore City Public Schools for 38 years and 3 months. Mary Rice started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on August 30th, 1989. She most recently served as a special education teacher at Barkley Elementary Middle. Ms. Rice served Baltimore City Public Schools for 33 years and 10 months. Rachel Rosenblatt started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on September 20th, 1978. She most recently served as a special education teacher at the Home and Hospital Program. Ms. Rosenblatt served Baltimore City Public Schools for 44 years and 10 months. Kathleen Sadler started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on August 28, 1991. She most recently served as a special education teacher at the Home and Hospital Program. Ms. Sadler served Baltimore City Public Schools for 31 years and 10 months. Charlotte Smith started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on September 1st, 1980. She most recently served as an IEP team associate at Robert W. Coleman Elementary. Ms. Smith served Baltimore City Public Schools for 42 years and 10 months. Diane Tucker started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on August 28, 1991. She most recently served as a special education teacher at Abbottson Elementary. Ms. Tucker served Baltimore City Public Schools for 31 years and 10 months. Michelle Tucker started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on January 11, 1988. She most recently served as a team support paraprofessional at Patterson High. Ms. Tucker served Baltimore City Public Schools for 34 years and 11 months. Jacqueline Williams started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on February 18, 1987. She most recently served as a principal at the Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. Ms. Williams served Baltimore City Public Schools for 36 years and 4 months. Jennifer Womack started her employment with Baltimore City Public Schools on September 18, 1974. She most recently served as a special education teacher at the historic Cherry Hill Elementary Middle School. Ms. Womack served Baltimore City Public Schools for 48 years and 9 months. Can we give it up for our retirees? That's a lot of time. Man. Whew.
Thank you, Vice Chair Roberts. It's important that we take that time. It was lengthy today, but that service, well given. So thank you all. We will now turn it over to our CEO, Dr. Santelises, for her comments tonight.
Thank you, Chair McFadden. At this time, I'm going to invite Chief Emily Nielsen for this evening's PEP agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises. Good evening, commissioners. For tonight's PEP agenda, if you are here in person, please stand so that we can recognize you. And if you're online, feel free to turn on your camera so that we can congratulate you. From the Office of the Chief Academic Officer, an appointment recommended that Mamoun Syed, currently psychologist, itinerant special education staff, be appointed coordinator related services effective July 26, 2023. Recommended that Stephen Hoffman, currently teacher secondary at Carver Vocational Technical High School, be appointed educational specialist 2, summer and expanded learning, effective August 21st, 2023. And recommended that Christopher Franklin, currently academic content liaison mathematics, be appointed coordinator mathematics, effective July 31st, 2023. Appointments from the Chief of Schools. Recommended that Latoya Hewitt, currently teacher secondary at Green Street Academy, be appointed assistant principal at Green Street Academy, effective July 26, 2023. Recommended that Tamiko DeShields, currently academic content liaison mathematics, be appointed assistant principal at Arlington Elementary Middle, effective July 26, 2023. And recommended that Steve Louis-Jean, currently assistant principal at Osceola County Public Schools, be appointed assistant principal at Baltimore International Academy, effective August 14th, 2023. And now for the CEO notification, an appointment from the Office of the Chief Executive Officer, that Jennifer Judkins, currently consultant, be appointed board executive, effective July 31st, 2023. An appointment from the Office of the Chief Legal Officer, Quinel Gomez, currently Director of Compliance and Title IX Coordinator, Boston Public Schools, be appointed Director of Fair Practices in Title IX, effective September 5th, 2023. And from the Office of the Chief of Schools, an appointment. Yael Samuel Yan, currently retired, be appointed ILED Elementary Middle, effective July 26, 2023. And 2 reassignments, that Shireen Samuel Robinson, currently Assistant Principal at Thomas Johnson Elementary Middle School, be reassigned Assistant Principal at Roland Park Elementary Middle School, effective July 26, 2023. And William Crockett, currently Assistant Principal at Calvin M. Rodwell Elementary Middle School, be reassigned as Assistant Principal at Fort Worthington Elementary, effective July 26, 2023. Congratulations to everyone PEP tonight, and thank you.
Congratulations, everyone, and a big thank you to the Office of Human Capital that has done record recruitment this summer and processing, so I want to thank you for that. And again, congratulations to everyone who was up this evening. I'm also very pleased this evening to begin by congratulating our academic office and more than 1,100 school leaders, teachers, guidance counselors, social workers, and paraprofessionals for an outstanding summer learning program. I also want to recognize nearly 1,300 youth workers. Those are our very own city school students who are working and serving in over 54 school sites. Thanks to this combined effort, as of last week, we have a record number of seats of young people participating this summer. So we have 20,700 seats that have been filled by students taking nearly 9,100 courses. That is a city schools record. Congratulations to the cross collaboration. Yeah, please give them a hand clap. And just by way of benchmarking, when I arrived in 2016, our top number at that time was somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000. So we have more than doubled the number of young people that are being served by our summer learning program. So again, thank you to everyone. You should know that for this summer, we're offering over 131 summer programs for students that include perennial favorite, Alvin Ailey Dance Camp, Sala Summer Arts, and Learning Academy, and that the number of schools offering robotics has increased from 5 to 15 this year. I'm especially pleased that approximately 435 seniors are taking advantage of credit recovery courses towards summer graduation, which is an important goal of the summer learning efforts, particularly as we're trying to make sure that we are increasing opportunities for our young people post-pandemic, getting back in, knowing we had a lot of road to make up. And in fact, we anticipate that large number of students qualifying for summer graduation through credit recovery will actually necessitate for the first time holding 2 summer graduation ceremonies because of the large numbers of young people participating, plus a separate summer graduation ceremony at Dunbar High School because they have an even larger number of young people graduating there. So thanks to everyone involved in just creating this record summer program for our young people and their families. As part of our effort and our ongoing commitment to gauge interactions between school police and students, this spring, the Office of Achievement and Accountability administered a student survey, our school police report card, in which nearly 4,000 students participated. In addition, a new survey was conducted for our very own Baltimore City Public School resource officers. I would now like to invite Chief Teresa Jones, along with Chief John Davis, Dr. Christopher Wan, and Major Norman Coleman to review the results of this year's report card, which will then be followed by a presentation from student members of Youth as Resources.
Good evening, Dr. Santelises, members of Baltimore City School Board, and members of the public. Again, I am Teresa Jones, Chief Achievement and Accountability Officer here at City Schools. It is my privilege for our team to share updates this evening regarding the results of the two surveys that Dr. Santelises mentioned. I would like to also acknowledge the leadership and partnership from Youth as Resources with the initial development of the school police report card and their ongoing commitment to partnering with us to unpack the results and partner with us in implementing various efforts in response to what we've learned through the results over time. So we'll start with a round of introductions of those that are seated at the table, and then we will start with the presentation of the results and discuss the next steps.
Good evening, everyone. John Davis, Chief of Schools.
Good evening. I'm Anya Jones, the project manager for stakeholder feedback.
Chris Wan, Director of Research.
Major Coleman, Baltimore City School Police.
All right, well, thank you all for having us tonight. Going to start our work on the school police report card and surveys is aligned to two of the board's priorities, namely priority 4 around engaging stakeholders, and also priority 7 around making sure we're creating a welcoming and inclusive academic and professional environment for our students and staff. We're going to start tonight. You'll hear from myself and Anya from the City Schools research team. We'll go over the results of the survey and our findings. We'll then hand it off to Major Coleman, who will talk a little bit about some of the work the school police are doing. And then finally, we'll let Yar come up and give us a presentation on their response to the survey results as well. It's going to start today with some top-level findings. So this year's school police report card was one of the most successful implementations we've ever had of this survey. Last year when we conducted the survey, we had about 2,000 students respond. This year we were able to double that number to 4,000. And not only did we hear from roughly twice as many students as we did last year, they also came from a larger number of schools. And we got a better sample from across our school district in terms of our responses. So it's really great news. Always want to hear from more of our students. So thank you to all the students who took the time to complete the survey, our partners in the schools office and engagement office, and also YAR and our other youth advocates that really pushed for the survey to be completed. So it's a big success. Not only did we hear from more students than we had last year, we saw an improvement in the favorability that the survey mentioned measured of the relationships between students and the school police officers. Last year, following COVID, we saw a dip in some of the results. Those have now come back up in this recent year. So that's also very good news. Finally, as was mentioned, not only did we give the school police report card to students like we have for many years, this year we did a new survey in which the respondents were our school police officers. We asked them many of the same questions we asked students about their relationship in schools with staff and students. We also asked them about some of the challenges they face in their job. School police officers reported favorable relationships with students and staff, but noted increased challenges from violence in the community and a need for additional staff training and equipment. So at this point, I hand it off to Anya Jones, who will go over the results of our student survey.
Thank you. So a little bit of background information about this survey. It was designed to give us some in-depth information about the relationship between our students and the school police. It was developed and continues to be influenced by the input of Baltimore youth-led organizations such as YAR. This is also part of the requirements for our compliance reports for a board policy that revolves around the same information. And we use this data to help us make informed decisions about school police and how to continue developing those relationships with students. So a deeper look at the numbers, as Dr. Santelises and Chris mentioned, we had almost 4,000 students complete this survey. It came in at 3,955 compared to last year, which was 2,140. For this implementation, we extended the survey window. It ran from the beginning of March to the beginning of May. And we also pushed the window back a little bit. In previous years.
Good evening, Ms. Morales. This is John Turner, Board Liaison with Baltimore City Public Schools. I'm calling on behalf.
Okay. So the previous year, we invited 31 schools to fill out this survey. And of those 31 schools, we had 3 schools that had a response rate of more than 10%. But this past iteration, we invited 26 schools, and out of those 26 schools, we had 22 that had a response rate greater than 10%, with 2 schools, Western and Nav, having close to 50% participation among their students. This is administered to mainly high school students, grades 9 through 11, but as usual, we have some respondents from other grades ranging from 6 to 12. And this year we offered the survey in English, Spanish, and French and had responses in all 3 languages. For the results, we had 2 open response questions, the first of which was the benefits of having school police. And overwhelmingly, students said that the benefit of having school police was that they offer protection, safety, and security. So 66% of our students said that they believed that the school police were beneficial in offering safety. And another 25% of the students had positive things to say as far as benefits, such as they stop or deter fights, they assist with problem solving and conflict resolution, they help build positive relationships and are a trusted adult in the building, they provide help or assistance, and they help maintain order within the school. And there was about 9% of respondents that said that the police were no benefit or they had a negative comment. The next open response questions were, what were the challenges of having school police? And again, we see that the majority of students said that there were either no challenges or they listed a positive comment or a benefit. So about 35% of our students, when asked to name a challenge, named something positive. About 23% of students said that a challenge of having school police is that it was difficult for them to maintain a safe environment or that there was a lack of police presence, so there weren't enough police officers in the building. And then some of the other comments that we heard were that a challenge with school officers were that they were intimidating or disrespectful, that they felt watched or over-policed, that they felt that the officers were delayed in their responses or somewhat unhelpful, or they felt that there was prejudice in their relationships with officers, or they didn't agree with the use of weapons, mace, handcuffs, or physical force. For percent favorable, across the board, the favorability was greater than it was in the previous year. Almost every category increased, with one category decreasing by 1 percentage point. And then the last 2, having relationships with officers and contributing positively, whether or not the officers contribute positively, increased by 8 percentage points. We also asked students about conflict resolution. We asked them if they witnessed any conflict resolution, and 40% of our respondents said that they did not see any conflict resolution compared to last year, which was 48%. 45% of students said that the police resolved conflict in a responsible manner, and 14% of our students said that the police resolved conflict in an inappropriate manner, and that's down a few percentage points from last year. We also saw an increase in the number of students that witnessed physical separation or discussion and conversation as a means to resolve conflict resolution.
All right, so those are the results of our student survey. I'm going to talk through some of the results from the survey we did with officers. So again, this was a new survey we did this year. It was developed in partnership with school police and our chief of staff office, and really asked a lot of the same questions we asked our students. So questions about relationships they have in the school, how they feel they're contributing to the school environment and our students. But then we also ask them a set of questions we don't ask the students, which is about the challenges they face in their job as a school police officer. We heard back from 29.2 of our school police officers, 29.2%, so just under a third of our officers responded. All of our respondents to the survey had more than 5 years of service, so they had been with the district for some time. The administration occurred in May, and we did it online. School police officers did the survey anonymously. We didn't ask them to identify what specific school they worked at, but we did ask them to identify the type of site, whether they were based at a school, a patrol officer, or worked at central office. And the breakdown's provided at the bottom of the slide there. So again, we asked a lot of the same questions we ask our students about relationships. You can see the results of the officer survey we did in blue. And then for reference, we also put the student responses to those same questions in yellow. So overall, officers, like students, felt their relationships were positive within schools with staff and students. We did provide the student values for comparison, but just a note, as you look through this slide, it's a little bit of an apples to oranges comparison. We have thousands of students that take this survey, but only a small number of officers. So for example, it's entirely possible for our small group of officers to all feel they have a relationship with some students at their school. But on the flip side, it's unlikely that we would hear 100% of students across thousands of students feel that they have a relationship. So we provided that for reference, but it's not to say that one is greater or better than the other. They're different audiences, and we just wanted to have that for reference. We asked 2 questions of the police officers. We didn't ask the students about their relationships with administration at schools. And the support they get from their administration, those are at the bottom and don't have a student reference. Not only did we ask some of the same questions we asked our students, we also asked our officers about the challenges they faced recently on the job. We asked officers to rate the following topics that you see on the right of a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 represented not much of a challenge at all, and 5 a very significant challenge in their work. We really heard back almost unanimously from officers that the volume and severity of violence happening in schools is the most significant challenge they're facing right now. So those are at the top of the list at the bottom, followed by understaffing. On the other end, lack in training of equipment were mentioned as challenges, not as great as some of the other ones, but still significant challenges. We asked follow-up questions of our officers if they noted that there was a challenge around lack of training equipment. We followed up and asked them, well, hey, what training would you like to have? What do you feel is lacking? Or in terms of equipment, was it computers? Was it cell phone? Other types of equipment they need to do their job? What we heard back from officers on the equipment side is cell phones were in the highest demand. And then on the training side, they specifically called out crisis training as a need. At this point, I'll hand it over to Chief Davis and Major Coleman to talk about some of the next steps from school police.
Yes, one of the first next steps, Chief Jones started this off by referencing YAR and their leadership in this work going all the way back to the very beginning. And we've held one training with them, and we're going to have to continue that and really develop that partnership so that we have these types of student-led professional development, professional learning with school police officers. Again, this has started, but there's more work that we can do with that partnership. The second one is really around investments made in recruitment. You could see that one of the challenges that was listed was in understaffing, and we know that we've got to make some investments in recruiting to get the proper amount of officers. We have vacancies in our school police force, and we want to do everything we can to be fully staffed.
Thank you. New equipment is being purchased for the distribution to the officers for cell phones, as well as computers are being added to the vehicles at this time, because that's something that we need, because a lot of times the officers respond out to schools and take reports, and they would have to drive back to a school to complete the report. So there they could do it right on the spot. And we're also going to be piloting a body-worn camera program, which will be implemented this year. It's only going to be when we work downtown. We're partnering with Baltimore City Police Department to do this pilot, because it's mandated for 2025. So all agencies across the state will have to have body-worn cameras. Under state guidance, can you move this right here?
Yeah.
Under state guidance, officers will receive a regular physical agility test as well as a mental health screening. This summer, we have already taken care of all of the physical agility tests. All officers passed it, and we will be scheduling for mental health screenings for all of the officers. That's a state mandate every 2 years.
All right, I think at this time, we're going to invite our partners at Youth as Resources to come up, and I'll put your guys' presentation on.
Hello, you all. My name is Kale White. I'm a board member of Youth as Resources.
Hello, my name is Niara Millette, and I'm the board chair for Youth as Resources.
Okay, so first we're going to go over some things that y'all thought it was just good about the police report card. Overall, students report increased satisfaction with their school police officers. So we think that's really good that students' relationship with the officers shifted and became more positive. Good participation in the survey process. Some schools really supported students completing the survey. So like we like schools backing up students' participation with the school police survey. We just like schools pushing it out more. Surveying school police on their perspectives and gave another layer of helpful information. We do find that looking at how the police feel about their relationships with the students very helpful and very like telling.
So here are the things that we found that were bad. All school police officers are required to participate in 5 hours of youth-led training. YAR Youth trained select officers on July 5th. With a few exceptions, officers were not receptive, some were rude and confrontational. 2 years ago, students from a particular school shared with the district that their school police officer's presence is harmful. That school scored well below the average score. And thank you. Policing is not going to help the impact that trauma has had on our lives. We need more mental health and wellness resources. School police in the role of mental health first responders after school hours is dangerous. We have ideas, even ones that won't cost money. We see some of your faces when Youth as Resources is mentioned or we talk, but we want to work with you. Next slide. So for recommendations, as per the school police policies and general orders, all school police officers participate in 5 hours of youth-led training. School police officers are held accountable for their behavior during the youth-led training. School board members who are genuinely interested in hearing us and working together to create student safety and wellness strategies meet with us and other students no later than mid-September.
Data around the use of force, including pepper spray, is shared publicly with us. Data around mental health resources in schools are also shared, and what is available to students and which schools also. YAR meets earlier in the year with the data and compliance staff to improve the relationship questions on a survey. Also, the district shares a plan of corrective action for schools with lower scores in the survey. And those are all our recommendations. If y'all want to set meeting dates, y'all can reach out to Julie Reeder, jreeder@youthresources.org. And that's all.
So I want to thank the leaders at Youth as Resources, as well as the leadership team from staff that came to present today. We clearly still have work to do, just given some of the challenges in our city, as well as our schools. But I will say, on all notes, this, based on some past year's data, we are on an upswing, and I think that gives us a really strong foundation to move even further along in addressing, safety within our schools. So I want to thank everyone involved for the collaborative approach and the joint presentation. I think it was helpful to hear a fuller picture on this data. And again, just a shout out, as Yar noted, to the schools office for just about doubling student participation this year, which is no minor feat. So again, I want to thank everybody and thank the board for continuing to ask and be interested in this work. So thank you. And then finally, before I turn it over back to Chair McFadden, I am very pleased to announce this year's City Schools United Way campaign was truly a great success. Thanks to the generosity of city school staff, the campaign raised almost $92,000, which is an increase of over $11,000 compared to last year's goal. Thanks so much, and congratulations to everyone who donated, with special thanks to Michelle Martin from United Way and our city schools co-chairs, Dr. Andrea Bowden, Principal David Verdi, and Principal Mavis Jackson for their hard work on behalf of those in our city who are less fortunate. That concludes my remarks for this evening. I'll turn it back to you, Chair McFadden.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises. I'm going to move item 5.01 to after we review the consent agenda and we hear our public comment. Board colleagues, let me know if you would like an item removed, and please state your question for staff.
To ask staff questions about the report card, because I had a few. I'm not sure if we were going to designate time in this meeting.
No, we can, Commissioner, because it was part of CEO report and not already on the agenda, because the results came out when they did. We wanted to make sure we got those to the public and the board, but it was not one of the pre-scheduled presentations, so we did not. Folks are clearing out now, but more than happy to revisit that. If you have other questions, you can certainly put them in writing and we can get that. Or if you'd like to have a broader conversation with some of the members of the team, we can do that as well. It's just the placement in the schedule is the reason why. Thank you.
I'm pulling item 8.02, the revised school year 23-24 academic calendar. Item 8.03, district goal adoption for mathematics. Both of those will be for presentation tonight. 3.03, appeals and hearings, case number 23-37D. Item 8.01, gifts and donations.
Do you have any you wanted to?
8.04, IEG RB, new regulation on media library services, second reader. 8.05, operator location and waiver request, Clay Hill. 8.06, operator location and waiver request, Patterson Park Public, Inc. and Clay Hill. 12.01, classroom materials, various vendors. 12.02, professional development services, Ed Scale. 12.03, Baltimore School for the Arts Foundation. 12.04, College Bound Foundation, Inc., Incorporated. 12.05, Tech-Terra Education, LLC. 12.06, the College Board. 13.01, Sustainable and Non-Sustainable Cafeteria Products. 14.01, Infinite Campus, Inc. 14.02, Software Maintenance and Support Renewals, Sole Source. 14.03, Software Maintenance and Support Renewals, Piggyback Agreements. 15.01, Design Collective, Incorporated. 15.02, Fire and Water Cleanup and Remediation Services. 15.03, Rough Roofers, Incorporated. 15.04, Rough Roofing and Sheet Metal, Incorporated. 15.05, Modular Genius, Incorporated. 15.06, Autumn Contracting, Incorporated. 15.07, E. Pacunas Construction Company, Incorporated. 15.08, Sparks Quality Fence Company, Fencing. 15.09, Cole Roofing Company, Incorporated. 15.10, Denver Ellick, Incorporated. 15.11, Clyde McHenry, Incorporated. 15.12, CNN Associates, LLC. 15.13, On Call Architectural Consulting Services. 15.14, AFIA Baltimore, Incorporated. 15.15, Baltimore Curriculum Project. 15.16, Baltimore Curriculum Project. 15.17, Baltimore Curriculum Project. 15.18, Baltimore Curriculum Project. 15.19, Bard High School, Early College, Baltimore. 15.20, Furman L. Templeton Preparatory Academy, Incorporated. 15.21, TJ Distributors, Incorporated. 15.22, Duron Incorporated and School Specialty, LLC. 16.01, Aon Consulting, AON Consulting, Incorporated. 16.02, Temporary Employment Staffing Services. 16.03, Resident Education. 20.07, Translation, Interpreter, and American Sign Language Services. Thank you. We will now move to public comment. Speakers from recognized groups will have the opportunity to speak for 5 minutes. First, we have Christina Duncan Evans representing the Baltimore Teachers Union.
Good evening, members of the Board of School Commissioners. My name is Christina Duncan Evans, and I'm a high school social studies teacher and school library media specialist, currently serving as the Baltimore Teachers Union Teacher Chapter Chair. I'd like to begin by thanking the board for several areas where we've been able to make progress in negotiations. Among them are limiting the number of prep periods that some elementary school resource teachers will be assigned, and extending more professional protections to home and hospital teachers and to all teachers working during inclement weather virtual instruction. We appreciate the board's responsiveness on these issues and hope that we're able to come to agreement on other topics to support teachers and help us to do our best for city school students and families. I'd like to bring the board's attention to the most recent report released by the Fund for Educational Excellence titled, "Should I Stay or Should I Go? Retaining the Teachers Baltimore City Students Need." After interviewing hundreds of teachers, the Fund's report identified several of the challenges and opportunities that impact teacher retention in Baltimore City Public Schools. While the full report is a valuable resource for understanding the complex and interconnected reasons why educators decide to leave or stay, I'd like to spend tonight's time discussing the subject of administrative workload, which the report highlights as a burden pushing teachers to leave city schools. The report states, in part, many teachers feel the effects of an increased workload, noting that the district's central office and sometimes principals keep piling on demands. Teachers cite the multiple roles beyond classroom instruction that they are now expected to play. For example, tracking and following up on student absences, reaching out regularly to families, and acting as a clearinghouse to connect students with the social, emotional, and academic supports and resources they need. In addition, they have noticed heightened scrutiny of their lesson planning with a new focus on plans explicitly including specific components and accommodations, as well as requirements to submit lesson plans daily. They also spend increasingly more time on data entry and paperwork around tracking student growth and goals. Because of the demands of their workload, many teachers cite stress, exhaustion, burnout, lack of work-life balance, and insufficient time to think critically about decisions. Quite a few teachers call the workload unsustainable. BTU members have been raising the alarm on unsustainable workloads for several years. We see our colleagues leaving, and we feel their absence acutely in the increasing workload that results from it. To that end, the BTU put a workload proposal across the table in negotiations that included 7 items for the board's representatives to consider. Among the items we proposed are: eliminate redundant paperwork for ESOL teachers and special educators so that educators can spend more time on instruction and less on duplicative processes. Eliminating redundant paperwork related to student learning plans. Providing at least one professional development day each quarter with no meetings to complete student learning plans. Eliminating a comparable amount of paperwork demands when new paperwork demands are added. Providing to teachers a calendar of dates that interim, quarter, trimester, and semester grades are due to administrators, and providing a full workday at the end of each marking period for grade calculations and input. The board's representatives have rejected every single one of these items without even negotiating them or attempting to come to a compromise, even though these items are present in other union contracts in Maryland. The board's representatives did not propose any of their own solutions for workload issues. The Fund for Educational Excellence report also notes that educators it interviewed do not feel heard by the district, and that low morale and a perceived lack of respect is driving educators to leave city schools. Will the board ignore the fund as well as its own educators? Baltimore's young people need and deserve educators who are tapped into their passion, their creativity, and their capacity for care and compassion. Teaching is the challenging task of inspiring young people to meet high expectations while providing the support we all need if we are to take risks and grow. Baltimore's educators can't be the difference makers our city needs when our leaders confuse bureaucracy with accountability. Our students hold us accountable every single day, and redundant paperwork that's rarely read, returned, or even recognized is just a stressful substitute for the meaningful personal accountability we experience from ourselves, our colleagues, our students, and their families that pushes us to show up and do our best every day. For these reasons, we ask that the board reconsider BTU proposal on 7.20 workload. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm now going to turn it over to our board office team for the additional public comment tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Fadden. We have one public comment, written public comment to be read tonight by Commissioner Coy.
This public comment comes from Brooks Morales and says, "Good afternoon. I am a teacher and am about to begin my 11th year in Baltimore City Schools. My certification was due to expire on June 30th. I was grateful to learn. Let me start over because that sounds like it's actually coming through. This public comment comes from Brooks Morales. Good afternoon. I am a teacher and am about to begin my 11th year in Baltimore City Schools. My certification was due to expire on June 30th. I was grateful to learn that the BTU was offering help sessions for those applying for recertification. I took advantage of that opportunity and very much appreciated the guidance I received. I received my recertification from MSD on May 19th. On July 18th, I received an email indicating that my application had been rejected because my certification was not due to expire within the next 90 days. Below is the message I received. This email is an automated notification and cannot receive replies. If you have questions regarding the application process, please contact Baltimore City Schools office via email at humancapital@bcps.k12.md.us or 443-984-2000. Thank you for your application. Our records indicate that your Maryland Educator Certificate does not expire within the next 90 days. For this reason, your application has been denied. Sincerely, Baltimore City Public Schools. I can only assume that this message was sent in error, as I have my MSD certificate in hand with an expiration date of 2028. The recertification process is notorious among Baltimore City teachers for being unnecessary, complicated, and frustrating. I was optimistic after submitting my application and receiving my certification that I had avoided the problems that many teachers experience when recertifying. I'm baffled as to why a routine matter such as recertification has been a point of contention for teachers for as long as I have been in the district. It seems that every teacher who has been here for more than 5 years has a story, and the vast majority of time, the issue is with North Avenue, not MSDE. This is just one more issue that erodes teachers' morale. Teachers who are recertifying are precisely the ones whom the district needs to be focused on retaining. Let's not complicate with something as routine as recertification be an experienced teacher's last straw. I contacted Human Capital on 7/18 as advised of the message, but have not received a response as of this date. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coy. Ms. Rogers, is that it?
Yes, that concludes public comment for tonight.
Thank you. Are there additional items that board members would like to pull from the consent agenda? Commissioner Eblagi.
Thank you. So I first wanted to pull item 12.02, professional development services, just to inquire about the status of the RFP that was conducted on school choice. Also, item 12.06, college board, to ask about the status of blanket fee waivers for SAT exams. 15.13, to ask about, and this one is architectural consulting services, just to ask about whether or not that service is being contracted for the 21st Century Schools Plan, because I know that that's been, a point that has been raised in the past. And then finally, item 16.01, AON Consulting, just to ask about the relationship between that and contract negotiations.
Thank you for that. Anything else? Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Yes, it is the
8.06.
Yes, 1806. It is. Thank
It's in regard to the facility for the school.
Right.
Yes, 8.06.
Thank you very much. 8.06. Yes, I'm looking at operate location and waiver request, Patterson Park Public Incorporated and Clayo. That's the one.
Thank you. So let's go in the order. And we'll start with 8.06. Is there someone from staff who is able to speak to that item?
I will state my question.
Sure.
Okay. Following questions ensue about 8.06. And the question that I wanted to ask staff is, what other relationships do we have with religious organizations? And are they allowed to influence curricular choices? With 8.06, there seems to be a question there. Have we taken into account if there is a fluctuation in the congregation of the facility is Our Lady of Fatima? Let us say if the congregation expands, after all religious congregations are returning, then this might be problematic for all concerned. This is an older facility. Will it be fully able to accommodate technical expansion? And in keeping up with our aim to meet the demands of COMAR, are facilities able to accommodate laboratories for the fine and performing arts, as well as technical laboratories as projected in the growth and expansion of this facility?
Thank you. So this is a charter school operator requesting permanent space. Do we have someone able to speak to it? Chief Perkins Coleman.
Just texting Angela now to see if she's here. Oh, there's Trevor.
Good evening. I'm Trevor Roberts, specialist from the Office of New Initiatives. Angela's on her way down to the boardroom, and we'll be able to address those questions just momentarily.
Thank you. While we're waiting, is there someone able to speak to item 12.02, Professional Development Services Ed Scale? Well, here's Angela Alvarez for 8.06. So just to make sure that staff is ready, we have pulled item 8.06, which is being spoken to now. Item 12.02, Professional Development Services. Item 12.06, the College Board. Item 15.03, Rough Roofers. And item 16.01, AON Consulting. Yes. $15.13. Okay, so not 15.03, but 15.13, 15.13. So if staff could be prepared to, hello, Ms. Alvarez?
So I started traveling down, so you're gonna have to help me to make sure I didn't miss any of your questions, and maybe Trevor, you can help me too. The question I heard was around, given the facility is an older facility, will it be set up to be able to support technology?
Commissioner, make sure your mic is on so we can have it
The
reflected
first
in our
part
minutes.
of it is really what my concern. We have, if we have fellow relationships with other religious organizations, such as Lady of Fatima, are they allowed to influence curricular choices? Because I remember in your memo, it began with this conversation about what could and could not be allowed according to this facility. And then capacity is Lady of Fatima's congregation. Go ahead. I mean, like religious institutions, congregations are now ballooning. They're going back into where they were. So have we made room for that? And it is an older facility. And will it accommodate our needs? Basically, those are the three main questions.
I'm going to go in the opposite. I'm going to start with the end and go to the first question. In terms of the construction that's underway, that's renewing the spaces. Like they're getting like all new HVAC. Like there's a lot of improvements that are happening to the building. The different teams that oversee different parts of our design have helped to review their plan. So like our IT has played a role, food and nutrition, our facilities design and construction. And so everything looks like it's on track. They're already operating in that building. So that was their temporary location. So they're already running school. They haven't had any issues with like connectivity or anything like that. So we believe that they're on track with everything to be suitable. The approval we requested from the board, as you know, is conditional just for members of the public. So there are some outstanding things we're still working on with them, and we'll continue to check, but everything looks like it's on track. If there's a problem, we'll bring it back to you, but if it's not, then they'll be smooth sailing. So far, everything it's been slower than we had hoped, but still on track in terms of what the things are. The congregation is using the sanctuary space, which is within the footprint of the building that they're expanding into, and wants to use 7 classrooms on Sundays for Sunday school. We don't think that that's going to be a problem. After school usage, even with some of our traditional schools, sometimes we rent out those spaces to religious facilities to have like service or things like that within our buildings. So we think that usage is not going to be problematic because it's not during the school day. It doesn't have any impact with the school. No, they can't have an impact on our instruction. One of the things that we're worried about in the draft of the lease that we've told them they can't say is because this is a facility that's owned by the Archdiocese of the Catholic Church, they had inserted language around not promoting the use of contraceptives and things like that the school cannot do that. So what we've said is you can't agree to that. You need to be able to meet COMAR. You need to be able to teach sex ed consistent with COMAR, so that can't be in your lease. And that you need to be able to provide health services also consistent with state law. So they're working on taking that language out and amending it based on the language that we suggested. We think that will go through. Like, again, if there is a problem, we'll bring it back. But that's one of the conditions, is that language can't be in their lease.
Thank you. Item 12.02. Hi, Casey.
Hello, how are you, Commissioner McFadden? Chair McFadden. Thank you all so much for having me here today. I apologize. Was there a specific question with regard to 12.02? I just want to make sure I'm addressing it appropriately.
Yes, and thank you. I read from the materials that were provided to us that this specific, contractor was contracted to conduct an RFP, which I understand is essentially a report on, any amendments to our current school choice system that could, make it more equitable or anything like that. That was my understanding of what was provided. If that's not accurate, definitely correct me here. But just wanted to see if there was any update on that, because, this is a renewal.
Wonderful. So thank you so much. So just to be clear, EdScale as a partner is really a consultative partner. It's done a lot of work with us around our 100% project schools, our ESOL and EL strategic plan. The work that you see noted are things that are on the future docket, not things that have already taken place. And an RFP is really focused on a procurement process by which we do things with other companies and vendors. So they're going to support us in the effective writing and leading of one of those in alignment with, enrollment and choice processes. So this is not work that has already taken place. This is work that we want to make sure we can continue with them over the course of the next year. Now, that's a lot of work for them to do. So while we're doing this and this contract is specific to 1 year, it's because we're going to be doing, frankly, another RFP that will have more of these consultative and development partners included. But this allows us to have them continue the work that they had planned across multiple offices in the district. I hope that helps. So I assure you, you're not missing information on an RFP with regard to choice. It just, that hasn't taken place yet.
All right. Yeah, thank you. That makes sense. And so this is work that we've contracted them to do in the past, or will this be a new piece?
No. Correct. It's new. So these will be things that we will be doing moving forward throughout the course of the next year with this particular partner.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for the questions.
Item 12.06, the College Board.
So good evening, everyone. Sorry, we're going to fix that. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I believe the question regarding College Board was around fee waivers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Answered. Okay, so I'm going to start with fees and then talk about fee waivers. So we do provide both the PSAT and the SAT to our students, PSAT in grades 10 and 11 and SAT in grades 11 and 12 to all of our students in city schools for free for that one administration. There are associated fees and city schools is eligible for waivers for those fees for students. So prior to the district-wide administration of a College Board exam, be it the PSAT or the SAT, schools are provided with specific directions because it is done at the school level. So schools are provided with specific directions for how they can go in and put in requests for those fee waivers. So they are available for our students.
Thank you. So I suppose my question was based off of my personal experience as a student. I'm a rising senior, and I did take the SAT with a fee waiver at my school last year. I suppose my confusion is my understanding of the district policy as a student was that we were offered 2 attempts to take the SAT, and I'm not 100% sure if this is accurate, having read through this. It's very possible that, there's been some conflicting information out there, but I was just wanting to clarify whether or not the district will be able to offer that same opportunity for students that are taking it outside of the immediate exams administered at their school. For example, there's a date coming up in August, and for a lot of students, that's just the most convenient option because that's the last SAT date that will be, available for us to submit before our college applications start. So I was just wondering if there's, any way that we would be able to provide student support with that date as well.
So thank you for that. So currently we do provide coverage for the cost of the exam and the associated fees for the exam for the 2 administrations that we provide. We are looking into ways that we could potentially expand what we are able to provide for our students. I'll just leave it there.
All right, thank you. So just to be sure that this is not something that we are currently offering, but could in the future.
We can schools, but it's at the individual school level. And so we just need to make sure that schools understand how our students can access those waivers outside of the 2 administrations. Does that answer your question?
Right, yes, so that would be at the discretion of a school, not provided by the district.
It's not necessarily at the discretion of the school because all schools have the capability. It's just the responsibility to access the waiver has to come from the school.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Is
That
that,
answers
yep,
my question.
okay. Thank you.
And just for the record, Commissioner, only because I'm the mom of somebody else who's also applying this year, I do just also want to do one other correction, that there is also one more administration before early decision is due, and that's in October. So August is actually not the last. There's August and October. Am I correct, Madam Deputy?
That is correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure that any young people listening know that before early decision, there's also there's August, but there's also October.
Yes, I'm also not 100% sure if this is accurate, but I believe it's possible that the October date, like you won't receive your results before the applications are due.
You will actually. Yeah, the
Will
school,
they? Oh, okay.
yeah, the school
Right,
forwarded,
thank you.
that's October is the
Gotcha.
last one for each.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That makes a lot more sense because we were told previously that wasn't the case. So
yes,
very relieved to hear that.
Well, I'm giving that info as mommy, as well as CEO.
It's the reason we provide the October administration to seniors, so that it corresponds with the application dates.
Thank you.
And 15.13, on-call architectural consulting. I see. Hello.
Hello, everybody. I'm Cindy Smith, Executive Director of Facilities Planning, Design, and Construction. If I heard correctly, the question was regarding if the 21st Century Projects use this particular contract? Okay. So no, this particular contract is it's a list of vendors that we can use for projects that have a fee up to $200,000, which typically correlates to a project up to only about $2 million. So that is a lot of our roofs, a lot of our window projects, elevators, fire alarms, that kind of thing. It does not cover any of the major projects like 21st Century or any of our other capital major replacements, or even most of our large HVACs.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Okay. Thank you.
There was one more, item 16.01, AON Consulting Incorporated.
Commissioner Blaggy, can you share a little bit more about what your question was? And then either Zelda Johnson or I will answer that.
Yes, so in reading the documentation that was provided to us, one part that I saw as I was going through this was that approval of this contract may include, it says, quoting from the documentation, union negotiation support as needed. I was just wondering, like, what that entails, you know.
So Aon is a consultant that provides us with consulting and advising services related to our benefits, which are something that we negotiate with the unions. And they provide negotiation support in that very narrow capacity. Anything you'd add, Zelda?
No.
Zelda's our Director of Employee Engagement, who oversees benefits.
Thank you. So essentially, like in the event that during a negotiation there is, you know, any kind of issue regarding administration of benefits, then they could support there.
They tend to do more actuarial services to provide costing estimates of proposals than benefits administration. The administration of the benefits actually is the benefits vendors.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Is there anything else? We're having trouble with our mics tonight.
We are. Chair McFadden, I was just wondering, I believe you had pulled 8.02 or
the calendar. So
right.
we did pull that separately.
Okay.
Yeah. So already know, Dr. Dabrowski, that there are going to be some questions from the student commissioner regarding the calendar revision, so that we're prepared. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda absent of item 8.02 and 8.03? Thank you. Commissioner Slater Harrington, is there a second?
Second, Esposito.
I heard three. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. So I'll take Commissioner Esposito. All in favor, Vice Chair Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Eblagi?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Mohammed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington?
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes with 9 in favor and 2 absent. Dr. Dabrowski, are you presenting on item 8.02, the revised SY 23-24 calendar? Along with Ms. Aquila James. Good evening.
So good evening, everyone. We are here unexpectedly because there has been an important adjustment from our state regarding a primary election. So we are coming to this evening with a revision to the academic calendar, which the board has already voted on and approved. So there is a modification in light of a new adjustment around a primary election. So if we go to the next slide, I'm here with my colleague Aquila James, who will help support. But the big story here is that we now have a confirmation of the primary election on May 14th, 2024. According to COMAR, this means that all LEAs are required to close schools for both students and teachers on that day. And so in our space, what we've done is added 1 extra school day to the end of the school year. This will also impact our quarter and trimester dates. So we've gone through and reworked those. I'm going to ask Aquila to sort of walk us through this so you can see how this shows up on our presentation.
All righty, thank you kindly. We can go to the next slide. And so for this presentation, it'll be just a quick overview, a reminder of our MSD requirements and regulations, coupled with a very high level and specific proposal for our revised 23-24 calendar. Next slide, please. On the next slide, we want to gently remind you that the calendar does align and support our board priorities, and that is board priorities 1 as well as 7. And we have already moved to our MSDE regulations. And so as a gentle reminder, there are 3 specific buckets that we must ensure we comply. And that is our state requirements that offer specific times as well as dates for our schools to be in session. When we look at our COMAR requirements, you'll see highlighted in yellow what we are here for today with respect to revisiting our calendar for 23-24. And that is to ensure that we are closed on primary and general election days. The other dates are the traditional holidays that we also that we recognize that COMAR provides and ensures or asks our schools to be closed. And last but not least is our agreement with our BTU colleagues to offer 10 days of professional development throughout the calendar year. Next slide. So in alignment with our COMAR regulations, what you have before you is just a very nice overview of all of the days as well as activities that will need to be revised. Specifically, we will start the year off again, welcoming our teachers and staff back on August the 21st. And so if I can just orient everyone to this slide, you'll see on the middle column, the original board approved dates, and to the right, the revised dates. And so we're going to spend most of our time talking about the revised dates. Our school starts again for students and on the 28th of August. We'll have our Wellness Day on November the 22nd. We'll then engage in our Thanksgiving holiday break on the 23rd through the 24th. Another Wellness Day, December the 22nd. And our winter break includes December 23rd through January the 1st. We actually will return in person on the 2nd. We have another Wellness Day on February February the 16th. And of course, good old spring break is March 25th to the 1st of April. Here is one of my favorite dates to share out loud as I can possibly be respectfully, June 3rd through the 10th. That is our reserved dates for senior graduation class of 2024. Excited for them. School will end. Here's the change. There's an early release date for our scholars, and the last day of school will now be proposed for the June 11th date. Our inclement weather dates remain the same. Those are 3 snow days that are listed here. Next slide, please. All right, and we'll just take a quick peek at our overview of our holiday schedule. And I just want to draw your attention to what's highlighted bright, and that's our primary election day. Now that the state has confirmed, we will close schools on the May 14th date. And so again, schools as well as the district office will be closed. All of the other holidays are very much the same holidays that we shared earlier in the earlier this year. All right, next slide, please. That concludes, and we are welcome and ready. I think our new commissioner had some questions.
And we do need to have the board vote on that.
Yes.
That's the other piece that we're here for tonight.
Yes, we will.
Fantastic.
And it's still it's a couple of days earlier than when I am slated to get out of school. So good to hear that. For you all, not for me. A student commissioner has a question.
Yes, so thank you all so much for this presentation. I was just wanting to see whether or not we would be able to consider including dates for the new ASCBC elections on the school calendar. I mean, I'm assuming given this late in the process, that might be, logistically very difficult to change, but just wanted to bring it up so that we could have a conversation about it at least, because, as a 2-year veteran of ASCBC, I would feel bad if I didn't bring this up, especially now that the process is a lot more, robust and will include more students and teachers than ever before. I feel like it could be a worthwhile addition just because it's something that teachers are going to need to keep on their radars. But yeah, just wanted to note that.
Thank you.
What I was going to say is, so each year, and I think the question is a great one, because we run a process to lead up to the presentation of the board where we engage with our student leaders. So that would be a really important space for us to get that on early as we build out next year. And I think as we think about the purposes for this calendar, or if there's other calendars that we want that to show up on, that would be the best place for us to make sure we're at it sort of proactively as we build out for next year.
Commissioner Slater-Harrington. And before that, Commissioner Iblagi, were you finished? Okay.
So if I understand you correctly, maybe to like print calendars this year.
Right.
But in the following year, you're taking that.
Yep.
Is it possible then to have it on the electronic calendars and to also work with the communications team to make sure that
Absolutely. We can figure out and how we can publicize it through comms. Absolutely. And we start the build for school year 24-25 in the fall. So it comes pretty early in the process because we do want to do a series of stakeholder engagement. So we'll certainly make sure that we connect that timeline with you as we're starting in that process.
Yes, and I will say if your team needs any support setting a date with ASCBC to me, I can help facilitate that.
Commissioner Iblagi, does ASCBC already have a date scheduled for the election?
I believe that we have a full calendar of all the important dates, although I don't have them on hand, but yes, we do.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, we do have dates. We were waiting for academics to make sure they didn't fall onto any test schedules. It was going to be part of the presentation that we're going to bring forward to the board, or first to policy committee in August.
Okay, sounds good. Great questions, Commissioner Iblagi. Any additional questions? Thank you. Is there a motion to approve item 8.01, revised SY 23-24 academic calendar?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Bay. Is there a second?
Second, Robert.
Thank you, Vice Chair Roberts. All in favor? Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Mohammed?
Yes.
Commissioner Iblagi?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington? Yes. And I am in favor. That is 9 in favor with 2 absent. That motion passes. Thank you to the academics team. Thank you. We're now ready for item 8.03. District goal adoption for mathematics for presentation.
Good evening, everyone. While we're pulling up the presentation, once again, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Teresa Jones, Chief Achievement and Accountability Officer.
And I'm Joan Dabrowski, Chief Academic Officer.
This evening, we're bringing forth officially the request to have the board vote to adopt the inclusion of a math goal among the suite of district goals. We can move to the next slide, please. By way of reminder, the board adopted 3 goals back in March of 2022. Those are listed here as goals numbers 1, 2, and 4. They cover the areas of wholeness, literacy, and graduation. Later, since that March discussion, there has been interest in including a mathematics goal. The academics team shared as we have an update when we did our district goals presentation, the information that supports the recommended goal that we're going to be asking for the board to adopt this evening. You'll see over to the right the alignment of the goals to the board's strategic priorities. And as we go through the material this evening, I will remind the board that the information that you will see largely has been presented previously in terms of our prior results, as well as updates around the improvement strategies around mathematics. And so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Dabrowski to walk you through both the proposed goal as well as insights around the plans to achieve it.
Thank you so much. So if we go to the next slide, again, this was shared at a previous meeting. We wanted to, again, bring it back, though, for official vote here, which is more students meeting or exceeding expectations in mathematics. And how we will measure that is through the percent of students proficient on the MCAP in grades 3 through 8 and the Algebra 1 assessments, moving from 7%, which was our spring 2022, to 25% by school year 26-27. So again, by spring 2027. It's an ambitious goal, and it's one that we are digging into. You can see where across the district goals, we have, again, entered mathematics into that space alongside wholeness, literacy, and graduation. If we go to the next slide, again, we had an opportunity to work this past winter and early spring around a math improvement plan. We brought that forward to our Teaching and Learning Committee on the May 4th Teaching and Learning meeting. And again, our work to continue to stay very vigilant and focused on math improvement includes having a cross-office group of math colleagues working together to think through how we're using our instructional materials, how we are building staff capacity, how we are working to recruit and retain effective math teachers, how we do more around family and community engagement in the area of mathematics using things such as our summer learning opportunities, our back to school events. We continue to think about how we can streamline and do better with our student learning plans so that families are keenly aware of where their students are in mathematics and what goals are in place for their improvement. And again, we know that having those conversations will be supported if we have a parent guide for how students can be supported outside of school in the area of mathematics. So we will continue to focus on that. This is new work for us that we're prioritizing. This summer, we have been partnering with a number of our colleagues in the school's office, the academics office, along with curriculum associates to offer math institutes for our teachers. So the professional learning work has begun. We have had over 80 schools designate math leads and math coaches to help, again, build the capacity around math expertise at the school level. So we're excited we're moving this work, and we are keenly aware of its importance. So as we look at the taking action work, again, if we go to the last slide, what can parents do? Again, we want our parents attending those back to school events, checking in with their teachers to learn about what they can access in terms of curriculum or what options there might be for after school programs or tutoring, how they can be part of that student learning plan conversation and really asking questions about mathematics, how they're doing on their iReady assessments or where they're doing some of their work on Zearn or on Imagine Math. These are some of the tools we use and have that availability for our families to be able to use those. And again, we want our students to be asking questions about what they need if they're struggling in math, what supports are there tutors available, are there programs that they can use? So again, bringing this to the board tonight with the hope that we can vote and move this into one of the board goals.
Thank you, Chief Jones and Chief Dabrowski. It's something that we've been discussing and focusing on. I want to see if our strategic plan committee chair, Commissioner Sally, if you have any thoughts around this before we open it up to the other members of the board.
I do, and I apologize I couldn't be here in person today with all of you guys, but I want to thank so much the work that Chief Jones has done in partnership with the board, and also Chief Dabrowski in terms of helping us think through the action plan for achieving these goals, especially when we're talking about mathematics. It is a balance. We want to recognize first off that we have very ambitious goals set forth for literacy, and this is why the focus on mathematics is coming at this time, recognizing that we do have a lot of work to do, and the best way to go about setting forth those plans for our students to achieve and excel in this area is to adopt a math goal, working in partnership with Dr. Santelises and her staff, and all of our city school principals and teachers focused in this effort. So we recognize that the best way that we do this is a purposeful inclusion of all of our goals along with mathematics in our board meetings and our discussions, as well as regular intervals to monitor progress. And that's something that we're committed to discussing with the public to ensure that our focus is placed on that. So with that, I turn it back over to you, Chair McFadden.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Any thoughts, questions from my board colleagues? I see Commissioner Muhammad, followed by Commissioner Slater-Harrington.
I want to say that I appreciate the aggressive tone of this approach and where we want to get to. My question is around the supports that the schools will actually receive. Are there math specialists that will be assigned to schools, especially those schools struggling more than others? And can we have a little bit more clarity on what the professional development will look like for those schools?
Sure. So I will say that we have, again, 80 schools have identified math leads. So we know that many of those schools would fall under schools in need of improvement. We are looking closely right now to see where schools may not have those supports and what additional they may need support either from some of our district personnel or how we strategically help them sort of identify a person. So the summer work that took place so far has really been anchored in two things. Number one is ensuring that teachers have the general content knowledge in mathematics. And the second part has been around using that mathematics in our curriculum. So we use Eureka Math for our kindergarten through grade 9, as well as pre-AP algebra as another one. So part of what we're doing is two things in these institutes. Helping understand the mathematics that's being asked of students because a lot of that has evolved and changed over time. So ensuring that our teachers have the most current understandings around the mathematics and then how that shows up in our specific instructional materials and curriculum. So that's been the focus. That'll continue for the math leads throughout the school year. We're looking to meet with them monthly so that we can continue to meet. And then on our teacher systemic days, our math teachers will begin coming together to continue that work. So we're doing a lot of work this summer to bolster sort of those who are available to work in the summer to come to those institutes. We have a lot of our educators who are either teaching summer school or who don't opt in the summer. So that's where we're going to use our professional days during the school year to continue this same work, deepening the understanding of mathematics and then being able to apply it to our curriculum.
Hi, so my question is kind of in alignment. First of all, I'm really favorable of this plan and this goal. And my question is also related to teachers in that how is the recruitment of and availability of math teachers impacted the development of this plan? And if you will, I'll just ask all of them and then come back. The other one is really in the weeds, and we can get into it, I suppose, sometime during teaching and learning. But given the sometimes transient nature of students and families, is how we are making sure that they don't lose anything when they go to the next school.
No, thank you. Two great points. So let me first talk about math teachers and how we're involving them. So part of what we've done in the Summer Institutes is work with our partners at Curriculum Associates, along with some teachers who've been identified in city schools as co-facilitators, trying to build that cadre of math leaders of our own city schools teachers. That's really important to us. We have continued to do that as we've identified math specialists or math leads. Again, how do we lift up those teacher voices and those teacher leaders? So that's something that we continue to do, and it's ongoing. Your second question, though, I really want to lift up because that is a key part of why consistency across schools in terms of what curriculum and assessments we use, so that if a student moves from one school to another, they should be on the same pace and sequence when they arrive into a new school. Additionally, our work with the student learning plans, and I know that there's often a lot of concerns around that level of work. Those reside in a space where a school could see them when a student moves to a different school. So having that insight about a student in terms of their data, in terms of what their interests or not interests are about a particular thing, is something they can see in that student learning plan. So that, again, follows the student. And those pieces, I think, help as best they can to mitigate what it will feel if a student moves and all of a sudden it's a brand new curriculum. I mean, those are the things that I think is so powerful about having high quality instructional materials in all of our schools to help for those very reasons.
So, question around school leaders, as you bring up the leaders, what does it look like around school leadership, principals being involved in this process to assure that the academic environment throughout the year, the academic community is focused on this effort from a leadership standpoint?
So we hosted a 4-day June Leadership Academy for the academics focus, really digging into these 4 large areas of goals. And so principals and those sessions had a deep dive for each of the areas. So they went deeply on math in terms of what are the routines and structures that need to be in place to ensure that students are having enough instructional time for math, that they're following the different routines around small group instruction when tutoring occurs. So we meet then with them again in October, we meet with them in January. So we have an ongoing Leadership Institute, again, focused on these academic goals and the wholeness goals to ensure that leaders are supported in being able to lead for this work. And then how we partner them with their math lead or their math coaches, learning side by side when they can to get, again, that very sort of real-time information to go back and make sure they're going into classrooms and asking the right questions or seeing the things that they need or getting support from our math office if they have questions.
Thank you.
So Commissioner Roberts, Esposito, then I'll lend it over to the CEO.
Thank you, Chair McFadden. Thank you so much for the presentation. I just wanted to piggyback off of Commissioner Mohammed and Commissioner Slater Harrington, but if you could just speak to a bit of the cross functionality of how this new goal will work alongside our existing literacy goal, because we know that, we have a number of students that have been classified as struggling readers. And so if we know that if you are struggling to read, you're likely going to struggle in math and science. And so could you just speak to the efforts that lend themselves to the interconnectedness of those two goals?
Yep. So you're exactly right in terms of the literacy required to engage in mathematics they're connected. And so when we think about young people who are expected on the MCAP to read a question, there are multiple things at play. There's understanding what the question is asking. There's understanding the mathematics vocabulary. And then once they understand that, then it's the mathematics of, do I know what function or algorithm or thing I'm supposed to do? So these things are absolutely connected. One of the things we've actually been talking about with one of our literacy tutoring partners is math literacy tutoring, helping our students. One of the things we've seen in our data analysis is some of the extended response questions in mathematics, or even just the question frames, are things that can get challenging if the literacy or the reading is not where it is. Even reading, so they may know the mathematics, but they didn't actually understand perhaps a word or a vocabulary piece. So these things go hand in hand. So understanding math vocabulary, understanding math fluency, these are connected. And so as we think about interventions and support, where we can bring the strategies together, we will. Yeah.
Thank you. I think the only thing that I would follow up and say, I think our largest external community stakeholders need to understand that, and how they can also be a partner in that work of the literacy around moving the mathematics goal forward, in addition to the literacy goal, in addition to the wholeness goal, and how we are, I think Chair Emeritus would always say, all hands on deck. I would really like to see just the magnification of what that looks like across this city with our stakeholders, as we're really trying to hone in and deep dive around these existing goals. If the goal is for our students by 26, 27 is 25%, it's not just us working on that 25%. And I would love to see that 25, 50, 75, 100 across this city. I would love to see that from our community, external and internal stakeholder groups.
Oh, hi. Thanks for the presentation. I saw that parents were mentioned a lot and caretakers. How much of a impact does that have on these outcomes?
So I think where we have, again, emphasized in our literacy work about what are the things families can do at home to support, we know that that goes hand in hand with, again, how the relationship and building that collaboration with parents and families and schools together, that'll make a world of difference. So if students are needing to practice on math fluency, how can parents at home be ready to support that? So the work that we look at in terms of what can families do at home, it's ensuring there's those tight connections with school, with teacher, to know what are things that they should be working on, what is the homework, what are the particular, and this is where, again, connecting around the student learning plan to know if there are particular areas where a student needs more practice time. Those feel like really big ways, because it is a relationship, and it is that we have so much time in the school day, but knowing that we can do this support at home, and if there are things that can be followed up at home, those things are critical if we want to see the acceleration that we are being, again, very committed to. And I will just agree with all the things that the commissioners have said here tonight. The schools and teachers alone will need support. We've got to all wrap our arms around our young people around mathematics in the same way we've been doing around literacy, and thinking through those ways. And it is around how are we helping our schools offer back to school opportunities and workshops based in mathematics. We've done great work around school literacy nights and things, and we are seeing more and more schools do their math nights. That needs to continue. There's a math phobia out there for a lot of adults, and so we have to break that down in terms of allowing there to be comfortable ways for people to express when they need help or support on it. And some of the ways that we learned mathematics have changed in terms of what we are sharing with our young people for how they learn mathematics. And as parents, we have to be okay to be uncomfortable and ask questions and ask our young people to help us if we need help on these as we're trying to help with homework. I know with my own children that come 4th and 5th grade, it got really hard to help as a parent, and it was a little bit shocking, but I said, well, there's something here that I need to learn. So I had to reach out to the teacher because there's new methodologies or there's new approaches. All of those things as parents, we have to lean into that. And again, our teachers and our parents together have to be aligned in how we prioritize mathematics.
And sorry for a follow-up question. Is there any like extra supports or conversations that you all are having for family structures that have economic challenges? Because I know we have these events and everything, but I have concerns about parents that work shift work or, you know, work multiple jobs, or students with only one parent or no parents. So is there any like additional wraparound services that you all are going to provide to make sure that they reach their goals too?
Sure. I mean, I will certainly follow up with Chikai Carter. I know in a lot of our community school work, we have tried to really be all inclusive to have offerings. The other thing I will say is one of the things we've learned through our time in the pandemic is the opportunities for virtual conversations. I think sometimes for families, getting to a conference might not work in terms of a job, conflict in time. So we're trying to get a lot more flexible on when we can have conversations with parents and using virtual technology, using a Zoom call or a Teams meeting to help open up the opportunities for conversations. But let me follow up on the other question that you've asked to get more information on that
And I think like one thing that would be helpful, like a data point, is maybe like the participation rate of parents and maybe like how that varies like per school and what challenges, like economic challenges those schools have. And also like, I don't know if this is like a communications thing, but having asynchronous opportunities for them to get the same information as parents that are able to attend events.
Thank you.
So I want to thank the commissioners for really thoughtful discussion. I will note that given the state of school boards across the country, this much time spent talking about mathematics is actually very encouraging as a CEO. And I also just want to publicly thank Chief Dabrowski. What does not get seen in the public view, but that I see, is that there actually was a less courageous way to approach the challenges in math. When we looked at the results together, it was very easy. And she had some internal pressure to say, oh, let's stretch things out for a year or two. Let's see if we can get things together. And frankly, she led. She led in the wind in her face of people saying, this is too much, too fast. If you knew just how much it took for that team to lift up quality professional learning from teaching and learning, and I see some teaching and learning people here, that team under her leadership has been absolutely unrelenting in the urgency. I was encouraged to hear that urgency that I feel that you as commissioners felt. It would have been very easy to say there's not enough time to lift as much as she has led that team through. A lesser leader would have broken a team putting together what they did. But because of her commitment to the children of Baltimore City, she did not relinquish. She did not say, we're just coming out of a pandemic, so give us another year. She saw the math. She saw what the need was, and she pushed. So I don't get to say that often, and it's very easy for people to think I'm the only one pushing, but she modeled a courageous leadership, and her team followed, and I want to thank her because all that she talked about today would not have happened and would have been put off with any lesser courageous academic leadership. So I want to thank her publicly for that.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises and Chief Jones, and to the entire team. Yes, because our students deserve it, right? So that 7 to 25, that's an aggressive goal. Like thinking about being in a school building and the work that has to take, that lift, it's significant. And so we all have to have the belief that all of our students can achieve at high levels. We should, because they can, right? If we put in the right supports that are necessary for our students, our teachers, our school leaders, our parents, thank you, Commissioner Esposito, and our stakeholders internally and externally, it all matters because our kids can do it. And so we're looking forward to seeing, hopefully, if it is the board's pleasure, the work that actually happens in lifting this work and making sure that we all see. We've got to be committed to it, right? We've got to be committed to asking these questions and spending this time, thank you, Dr. Santelises, in discussion like this during our meetings so that we keep the work on the forefront of our minds so that our young people are actually we're improving outcomes for them and they're improving outcomes for themselves. So thank you to the team. Is there a motion to approve item 8.03, the district goal adoption, bless you, for mathematics?
I move that we approve 8.03.
Thank you. Commissioner Bay, is there a second?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Muhammad. Motion was moved by Commissioner Bay, seconded by Commissioner Muhammad. All in favor? Vice Chair Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Eblagi?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington? Yes. And I'm in favor. That motion passes with 9 present and 2 absent. Thank you so much to the work of the team, and thank you to the board for staying focused on this work. Thank you. We are going back to item 5.01, information and discussion with Chief Emily Nielsen, Chief Human Capital Officer on policy GBN, appointment, assignment, transfer, probation, election to tenure, resignations, and retirement. This is the first reader.
Good evening, Commissioners. Again, I'm pleased to be joined here tonight by our Executive Director of Labor Relations and Negotiations, Jerome Jones, who's going to walk us through the presentation for policy GBN. I'm just going to pull that up now.
Mr. Jones, good evening.
Good evening. I'm Jerome Jones, Executive Director of Labor Relations and Negotiations. Good evening, Dr. Santelises. Good evening, Board Chair McFadden and board members. So I'm here for the update on board policy GBN. Okay, here we go. So this is, of course, is the first reader. Next slide. And as you can see, we've highlighted the priorities we believe that this policy goes to, with 2, with actively recruit and retain and support qualified staff, 4, to effectively engage all stakeholders, and 7, to continuously work towards equity at all levels in implementing policies and practices. The goals here are to incorporate some board rules that were still around and were not part of the policies that would appropriately belong in any update to this particular policy. to comply with any current laws, all current laws, specifically around House Bill 984 regarding public employees, labor relations. We've added some definitions. We've aligned the policy with some internal procedures, and we clarified the role of human capital in the hiring and onboarding process. One of the things we do propose is changing the name of the policy from all the things listed here to more concisely talk. The policy is around the employment cycle and the staffing actions that are part of the employment cycle for all of our employees. Again, the policy gets into the various milestones that are listed here, which are really the milestones for all of our employees at some point, depending on where you are in your employment with city schools, that employees go through. And we want to make sure that this policy talks about all of those things, and we outline the impact, both from the policy standpoint, calling out both law requirements and also negotiations and the bargaining unit agreements as they align to this policy. Again, this is the framework for the employment cycle. And we want to make sure that the importance of hiring and retaining qualified and diverse workforce in our goal to create a school system free of implicit bias and discrimination. That employees, the expectation that employees perform their work, maintain high ethical standards, and that we obey all applicable laws, policies, and regulations. And finally, it clarifies the board's commitment to corrective and progressive discipline, which is new to this policy. It had not been called out in the policy before. To that end, we have gone through and revised some of the definitions that are part of this policy. These definitions are spelled out. The specific definitions that are changed are spelled out here on this particular slide. We have clarified the CEO's authority to hire, direct, supervise, and assign employees. Also adding an applicable section of the policy regarding all employees except for temporaries. There is a specific policy regarding temps. It is GBM. And then we've highlighted that they're employees not affiliated with any collective bargaining, and within the policies, within this policy, we make sure that the areas that they're not covered in, we call out within this policy. We spent some time in here clarifying that human capital is responsible for establishing comprehensive onboarding, screening, hiring, for all employees, that the hiring is contingent on passing a background check, a criminal background check. It requires that employees attend orientation, and employees must complete specific compliance training on various topics that are outlined in board policy, in accordance with board policy, and certain compliance topics that we are required by law. This is new here, that once employees are hired, they must report to human capital within 2 business days if they're arrested or charged with the crimes, certain crimes that include distribution of drugs, sexual offenses, child sexual abuse, or crimes of violence, because you cannot work in city schools if you are either found guilty of or charged with any of those crimes by law. And the self-reporting required regardless of where the criminal activity occurred. It also requires that employees keep us up to date if regarding any disposition of the crime and or provide additional information that we may need to determine what the appropriate next steps are based on how the case is adjudicated. We do specifically call out in the policy corrective and progressive discipline, and I do want to emphasize it is about correction. First, we want to make sure that people understand what the requirements are, and it will progress the discipline. But we do want to make sure that we help people understand that there are certain crimes, regardless of your tenure, certain acts, regardless of your tenure, regardless of your history, could go to suspension and or dismissal right away, depending. But we also always want to keep in consideration mitigating or aggravating factors that are considered when we are determining what the appropriate disciplinary action is. And then employees, in some cases, we call out here, may be placed on administrative leave while the Office of Staff Investigations does an investigation of the situation and gets the full facts so that we can determine what the most appropriate step is. We've added the tenure procedure section to the policy. It aligns with Maryland law, which requires certificated employees, all certificated employees who serve a 3-year probationary period. We clarified the requirements for certificated employees that come from another Maryland district serve a 1-year probationary period here unless we extend it we can extend them for a 2nd year, but we make sure that we call that out here. And that long-term leaves of absences during your probationary period can extend the probationary period. And that any teacher or certificated employee who earns or loses tenure will receive written or electronic notice of their tenure status. Some additional things we have clarified here is the difference between interim and acting assignments. We have now the process of resignations and voluntary retirement, and we've incorporated some board rules allowing the CEO to take action to prevent strike consistent with the House Bill 894. And it highlights that the CEO may determine that we should not continue the employment of non-certificated employees beyond their probationary period. Again, as we continue with the changes in here, employee's mental or physical condition, if we determine an employee's mental or physical condition prevents the employee from discharging their duties, the Office of Human Capital can arrange for employees to be examined by external medical personnel. All resignations or requirements be released from contract shall be in writing and submitted to the Office of Human Capital at least 2 weeks prior to the date of withdrawal of service. And OHC must consult with, there are provisions in the board rule that extended periods of absence, regardless of the reason, we can move forward to ask the person to either resign or retire or move to terminate. But in doing so, we must consult with the Office of Fair Practices to ensure that any protections, or we take a look at if the person needs some type of accommodation, we're complying with the Americans with Disabilities Act and seeing if there's potentially another job within the district that person can do. So we want to make sure that we protect both the district and the employee in making them aware of any protections under the law, because And sometimes people can't do the job that they're in, but it doesn't mean that they can't perform an adequate job in a different place for city schools. So, and we believe this goes to both not just complying with the law, but also a retention process here. We have heard back from some of the stakeholders listed here. And the next slide is some responses. The next two slides are some responses and feedback that we've received from some of our union partners that have taken a look at the policy and regulation. And I think that's it. I know it's a lot, but.
Thank you, Mr. Jones and Chief Nielsen. Any questions? I see Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Commissioner Bay.
Yes, first of all, a lot of work went into this. I wanted to know about your collaboration with present existing contracts we have with employees. I mean, the level of informing, moving this policy forward, the level of cooperation or communication you had with the various negotiating units that represent the employees in Baltimore City Schools. Also, as we move this policy to, because this is the first reader, something bothered me, and it really did. It is I understand structure. I'm an old military guy. I'm, ex-Army, right? I know the need for structure, and I know the need to set boundaries. But a lot of this first reader sounds not inviting to me if I was wanting to sign up as an employee for Baltimore City. And because I don't see a lot of this policy also should need to have that side of it, that how do we support and build? I mean, I'm not so much on just all the punitive aspects of or the dangers or the pitfalls of being an employee, but how do we build our employees to be greater and stronger in that policy? How do we, make that a part of the policy and building people, because this is a way of industry now. I mean, this is, how do you build a person and not just constrict? And sometimes some of the language in here is rather constrictive to me. Okay, I'm not saying that, overall. And like I said, I understand structure. But I wanted to know, is there a way we can, as we move this into the second reader and all like that, how do we make it more palatable, more something, I want to be a part of that club sort of thing, And so that's what my input is.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. We can take another look at it. I would say to you that the changes that we made in the policy and regulation, we sent copies to the union to have them and their attorneys look at it and provide feedback, and then took that under advisement. So we did do that. I would say a challenge is that we'll face in trying to figure out how to, present this in a way that feels more open and supportive in nature. Is a lot of the things covered in here are because of laws and very strict policies and regulations, and you must provide clarity around those things. But we can take another look at it and see if we can look at with regard to the specific components of it, how does that help us to build a better, more welcoming environment for our employees?
Are there any other thoughts, questions? Commissioner Iblagi, I didn't
Thank
see
you.
your hand.
I don't have a question necessarily. I just wanted to, note my, well, first of all, I agree with much of what Commissioner Kenyatta Bay raised, but just my extreme discomfort with, voting in any way to add language to policy that restricts the right of employees to strike. And I understand that this is not technically, something that we're controlling. This is just an update in consistency with the law. Just wanted to note that because, I felt compelled to say that because that caught my eye.
And I would say to you, I understand that. I mean, I've worked with unions all my life, so quite a bit of time. I have the utmost respect for unions. I thank them for the wonderful benefits that I have and the holidays I have. But again, with the technical nature of this particular policy, by law in the state of Maryland, teachers cannot strike. That's just a fact. And we have to call that out, because if they do, then we would have to move to decertify them as a union, which would leave our employees pretty much without a union to advocate on their behalf. So again, it is that pull that we go through with this particular policy that's very technical, very law-driven, it's very specific in what's required. But I hear what you're saying. And that was something new that wasn't in here in the policy previously. It was a board rule that we've added. And so we had to call that out, and you have to be very specific about that.
Commissioner Esposito.
Yeah, on slide 14, it talks about employees that have like physical and mental health conditions that prevent them from doing their duties. It says OHC shall arrange for the employee to be examined by medical personnel. Is that in addition to, like, if they were to provide their own documentation saying that they have this condition?
So this is something we don't use very often. We always try to refer people to their personal physician, and because in that way, it is whatever's going on with them and their physician is confidential, and we always want to keep that confidential. But there are times where employees exhibit actions in the workplace that give concerns to their ability. And when you talk to them, they either do not want to get help, or what we believe they might need help for, or it is such that it creates a situation where they may present a danger to themselves or others, or not serve students appropriately within the workplace. So we have a way that we could then refer them to a third-party medical just to determine, is the person able to work or not? We do not want any diagnosis or anything like that. And if the answer is no, then with that, we can then say that you have the right to family medical leave or whatever leave that they have available, and you need to seek help with that. At the point that you are released by your personal medical, then come back and you come back to work. So it is a tool that's seldom used, but there are situations where we're not sure, and we're not doctors. We're not going to try and be doctors, and so, but we need to be able to do that from time to time.
And is that like a condition for them to continue employment?
Say again, I'm sorry.
Is that a condition for them to continue employment? Like if I were a person that was working and had that situation, like?
Well, if we believe that there's this situation arises and we send you to a doctor and the doctor says you cannot, you're not in a place where you can perform the essential functions of your job based on what's going on with you, and a person refuses to get help, say, no, I'm okay, then we can't put them back in the workplace at that time if they're not able to do the essential functions of the job. It could then move into a disciplinary, but we hope generally my experience has been that people get the help that they need and they then return to work.
And for the folks that don't participate, like, are there any conversations that you all are having about?
Commissioner Esposito, can you speak up more into the mic so we can all hear?
Sorry. Are there any conversations that you all are having around like stigma with mental health resources? Because I mean, that can be a challenge to get people to participate.
I'm sorry, I still didn't hear you.
Okay. Are you all having any conversations about like stigma, like that may prevent people from seeking an evaluation?
No, the initial goal is to have them go on their own and seek help. That is always best. We don't need to, we wouldn't prefer not to be in a position of saying that there's something going on with you, but if there are concerns that actions, observable actions that you believe may interfere with that person's to perform their job, then you want to have conversations. This is something that it must come to the Office of Human Capital to have this conversation, the referral, so that there's one standard, and any information that comes back is strictly can the person work or can they not work, so that we protect the confidentiality of those. But it's rare that we do this. I typically don't have that many of these, but it was important to put in a policy. That is a tool that we have.
And in some cases, Mr. Jones, as you mentioned, there are accommodations put in place for certain situations per doctor's orders or whatever. The district does, based on, I think, the law that you reference, or correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember what it is.
ADA.
ADA. But there are accommodations that can be offered to folks should they need those. Thank you. I have a question about regulation. It's something flying around. Regulation, the regulation, section 2, letter D, number 3. It's on page 3 of the regulation, where it speaks to tuberculosis specifically as a communicable disease. Just for, out of curiosity, why is that named here and no other potential communicative disease that could impact the workforce? Just a thought, because it's named in the policy regulation proposal.
So I'll get further clarity on that, but I believe that was recently changed. We used to have to do TB tests on everyone, and that's a change in the law. But I'll get further clarification on that for you.
Thank you. I'm just.
The change was informed by the city health department that told us that based on TB levels in the Baltimore population, we no longer needed to test school-based staff or district office employees. So this is, I think, a historical artifact that tuberculosis specifically is referenced.
Reference to the point that it should make policy the regulation. Okay, I was just curious. Thank you. Commissioner Bay?
Yeah, I just have one more thing to add on the same theme of helping and building. A lot of my colleagues, when I was in the classroom not too long ago, really felt as though that administrations or higher ups or whatever were not cognizant of their mental states as they were dealing with problems and readjustments, etc. And some felt as if, and I'm not saying this was fact, but they felt as if there was a level of persecution. Are the protections in this policy for employees, for them to find the protections from some of the, I guess, some of the things that they found where people don't understand some of the problems that people confront instead of, and that's one of the areas you might want to take a look at of how do you support, because a lot of times we don't have the information to support, and it comes off almost confrontational in certain areas. And so I want to know how we build that up in the policy, and that's all I wanted to throw out there, because I hear it too much. I heard it too much, and we have to be cognizant of how our employees exist as people. You know, not just, you know, we need a body, we need a person.
Thank you, Commissioner Bay. Now, are you speaking specifically to the dismissal of a staff person as it relates to?
No, not specifically. I've seen this. This is not just a instance. This is not a single instance. This is a reverberation that I've heard within this environment of people not feeling as though in the structure they were not recognized as individuals going through things, dealing with things, trying to survive in a structure, and sometimes they felt as if the structure was kind of built against them instead of built for them. And I want to make sure that if we put a policy out there that states, well, this is what happens if you do this, and this is what happens if you do that, well, maybe, you know, this is what happens when you do this, you know, and take it in the opposite direction. If you say, I am protected from, I don't want to use the term, from a lack of understanding from higher ups, how does this policy protect our employees? How do they protect our teachers and our workers? How does it protect, I mean, I know there's a whole organization that does that, but it can take a lot of weight off of a lot of people's plate if we do that here before it has to go to another level. And so I just wanted to throw that out there because I think it's very important, you know, because a lot of my colleagues a lot of times expressed to me that they did not feel is that they were dealt with as people because of the structure, which is not necessarily another person, it's just a structure. And so as we're looking at the revamping this policy, we have to look at how this policy really does build our employees, make them want to come here, you know, make them want to be a part of this party, okay? That's all I have put out there.
Yeah,
Thank you
I
for
would
that.
say to you that while I don't believe that what you're specifically referencing is a part of this policy, there are other places, specifically as we look at attendance and we look at, you know, we are pushing as an organization to make people aware of our Employees Assistance Program, and just talking and getting people to use that because it is very confidential. You know, there are a lot of resources there. I think it is a very much an underused benefit that we have that I think gets to the root of some of the issues that you talk about, and just helping people, because by using that and making people aware of, you know, the leaves and the family leave policy that they have available to them, we don't get to the corrective discipline, the corrective action part of it. So there are other places that we push and make sure that we talk to people and understand what's going on with them, and refer them to other tools that we have in the toolbox that are not specific to this policy, so that the one place in this policy that I think, you know, gives you pause, and that's talking about progressive, we don't get to that.
Thank you for that. We look forward to the second reader. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Are there any committee reports, operations? There was a meeting held on June 20th. Is there a report from the Operations Committee?
There is not a report for the Operations Committee. Chair McFadden.
Thank you, Vice Chair Roberts. Is there a report from the Policy Committee, which met on June 20th? Commissioner Sally?
There is not at this time. The two items that were brought forth tonight came out of our recent policy committee meeting, but we'll have an update for our August 24th meeting.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. Special public board meeting of the board will be held virtually on Tuesday, August 8th at 9:30 a.m. And I want to just take a moment to just thank the board for being as prepared as you were for tonight's meeting. This is a summer, we're not on recess like a lot of other school systems are, their boards, but there is still work that has to happen. For example, generally procurement items flow through our committees, and in July they did not. They came to the full board. Thank you all for doing your due diligence. And as always, if you have questions about specific things or specific items, please send them in to the school board office, especially during this time, so that we can be even more prepared for our meetings to come. The Policy Committee will meet virtually on Tuesday, August 15th at 4:00 p.m. The next executive session of the board will occur on Tuesday, August 22nd at 3:00 p.m. We will meet in public session that same day at 5:30 p.m. There's something else that we're doing at 4:00 that day that commissioners should be present for. It's a celebration. And then Tuesday, September 5th, the Teaching and Learning Committee will meet at 3:30. We want to say happy belated birthday to Commissioner Esposito, who celebrated a birthday in July, along with her child, Vinny, who had a birthday 2 days ago, yesterday. So we want to wish them a happy birthday. We will meet after the CEO's birthday, which is coming up next week. I believe it is August 3rd. And then Commissioner Roberts has a birthday in August as well. So we just want to take some time to celebrate those moments because we're human and we're in this work together. Is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Commissioner Slater-Harrington. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Bay. All in favor, please answer by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.